Hello, this is Jared Altman with Tax Relief 101, and today we're going to answer the question, do I have to let an IRS agent in if they come to my house? Before we get to that answer, I'm going to tell you a little bit about this show, and then we'll answer that question. These are usually about 5 minutes, so it's not that long till we'll get right to the meat of that question. So this is my vlog. I'm Jared Altman, and I work in the tax industry, but I've noticed that there's a lot of bad information out there, both in forums and on the internet in general. Sometimes it's because people are trying to sell something. Sometimes it's because people are just uninformed or they haven't read the actual code, or because someone told them and they believe them and that person isn't necessarily qualified to render that kind of advice. So this is just a place to get some good information. I'm normally, I'm in my home office. I'm normally in my work clothes, but we don't put a whole lot of editing into these or even the interviews. It's just kind of like shop talk for tax. And but the information's good, and it's research, and it's backed by professionals who work in this area all the time. My particular specialty is helping taxpayers navigate the IRS trying to collect from them, and helping that go a little bit better for them. So that's kind of my background in this. Like I said, the question for today is, do I have to let an IRS agent in my house? And the answer is, unless they have a warrant, no. And so that's a common thing that people are worried about. A lot of times when an agent comes to your house from any government, you're worried. You want to prove you're innocent. You want to prove that everything's okay. You want to make them as happy as possible, but the reality is that they're an officer of the state too, just like a police officer. And if you've been, if they've been coming, or they're trying to collect something, or this is a surprise, a lot of times you really want to get someone to represent you, or even if it's just talking to the person that prepared your taxes, whether it's an enrolled agent or a certified public accountant. Or, sometimes tax lawyers actually do file returns too. If you have a tax lawyer for whatever reason, you want to contact them as well. Any of those people can represent you and help you figure out what to do next. But the reality is that there isn't a whole lot of good that can come for you if you, let them in your house or let them into your place of business. If it's gotten to the point where someone's showing up to your house or to your place of business, that's kind of far along in the process. And it's such a rare thing that they're probably looking for evidence or something to incriminate you or to get you to say something that they can use against you. The IRS does not kind of do casual calls for like taxpayers that they don't have an interest in. So my advice to people, and you'd have to talk to a qualified tax advisor yourself. I can't render advice about individual situations, but my general advice to one of my clients would be that you shouldn't let them in. You should get representation. You should get a 2848, and you should make them deal with a representative who's not going to say something that's against your best interests in the way that you might, just simply because you don't know how they're asking the questions and you don't know what questions are important. And which questions aren't. These are trained compliance professionals who have been trained to get information out of people, sometimes without those people knowing that that's what's happening. So, if someone shows up at your house, you don't need to let them in. You don't need to talk to them. You just need to get representation very quickly. And I would say that I would advise you to do that. This is not something that you want to do on your own, because there's so many things that you don't know that I couldn't even go into them into this podcast about what that IRS agent might be looking for or looking for you to say to further incriminate you. So that's just a little bit of advice. I rarely say you always need representation. There's some things you can do on your own, maybe not quite as good, but you can get a passable job done. This is not one of them. This is one of those things where you want a professional, and you don't want to accidentally stick your foot in their mouth, because at this point, if someone's coming, these are so rare. If someone's coming, that the IRS has decided to invest money and time in this, and you want to have adequate representation to make sure that it goes well for you. So that's all for today. That was answering the question. Let's see, I told you this happened sometime. So, what do I do if an IRS agent comes to my house, or what do I do if, or do I have to let them in? So that's all, and have a great day.